sorted out, and we're not alone. Every other municipality that I have meetings with for other things are, they're struggling with it, and staff is struggling with it. So I do think a meeting would be great if we could set that up, but for sure, I think we have to start with a letter. And we also need to loop Councillor Trowbridge into this, because I know he's going to want to know more about that letter. But he might be here. So, I totally agree.
Okay.
I support the letter, but I think we need to look at it just a wee bit closer.
Councillor Richardson.
First of all, as a point of information, did you say in the letter we do not have stormwater?
Pardon me?
In your letter, did you say we don't have stormwater? Because I don't think that's factual.
We do not have a stormwater system. We do not have a stormwater system, which we don't.
My understanding is we do we not? Like when I did my subdivision, I had to hook into Anmore's stormwater system, including making retention systems for 100-year rainfall events. So
the newer ones do. They quite often they have to be, because you have to conform. You have to deal with your stormwater on your property, but a lot of the older places don't.
okay. And then overall, I spent considerable time going through both the Local Government Act with respect to the SMMUH and also the SMUH Provincial Policy Manual, where Anmore is required to do anything. And I didn't come up with any conflicts. Like, because we don't have a sewer system, with the exception of Anmore Green Estates, we're only allowed a suite or a carriage house. There's a requirement, but RS1, you're allowed both right now. So we actually have more than that. I went through like lot coverage, and like for Anmore, it's 30% lot coverage. And in Anmore right now for RS1, we have 20%. For CD, it's 20 to 25. For infill, it's 35%. For countrysides, it's 50 to 55%. And for AGE, it's 50%. So we're well over their limit already. Like, I didn't find any conflicts. The only confusion I have is the issue with strata, and can strata overrule the province? And the answer I got was the province has a strata law, and the province has the SSMUH thing within the Local Government Act, and they're both equal. So it's not one ruling over the other, they're sort of side by side. And if strata is limited, then Anmore Green Estates can decide, no, we don't want suites, and likewise, Countryside can say we don't want suites because it won't be supported by the infrastructure of our strata. So I don't actually understand what the issue is. Like, to me, it's way simpler than I thought it was from an Anmore perspective. Like, the exception with the no sewer system means we almost have to do nothing. So I don't get the issue.
So the new legislation, use for example Ravenswood, would allow each house in Ravenswood to have a suite. Those aren't right now allowed by bylaw or by a covenant, because and their septic system isn't to be able to facilitate a suite. There's supposed to be no suites in Ravenswood, just like in sort of the old McCulloch subdivision as well. If you were to put suites in there, there isn't the space to expand the septic systems in those smaller lots that are a quarter acre, because from what we've been told from an engineering perspective, a quarter acre is about the minimum that you can put a house and a septic system on a one-bedroom house. So with that being said, I still think the letter could offer, we need to at least get a bit of an Anmore perspective on things. Again, we are going to be working with them with it, but I think that we do need to get something out to get some clarity on that, because I do not agree, as you contend, that we already have all the rules in place at this point in time. So,
but if I may, like even in Ravenswood, many of those houses, illegal or not, do have suites. They're like 5,000 to 6,000 square feet. And if you want to build a carriage house today, you have to go to Fraser Health and update your septic field. If you can't update your septic field, then you don't get to build the carriage house.
but you could put suites in there.
Okay, but again, if you put it into an existing house by doing all the work that's required, if you change the load on the septic field, you have to go to Fraser Health and get approval to do so, and that's part of the approval process. So again, I don't understand the limitations. Anmore already does, to me, all of this, except we restrict it in certain places because of bylaws.
Good. Any other comments, questions? Oh, are you hooked? Councillor Trowbridge, hello. We're discussing, they were pulled from the consent agenda, items number 7B and 7C, the Ministry of Housing. Do you have any comments? We're going to be, there is just a very rough draft, Councillor Trowbridge, and what we'd be doing is probably distributing an amount back to staff and then distributing it to council for comments, and just a very generic letter, how it applies to Anmore in regards to some of the concerns that we have. So nothing will be sent out until with consent of council. Okay. Any other comments? So it's we're just moving receipt of item number 7B. Could I get, oh,
Would you
Michelle?
also like staff to write a letter?
Okay.
So the motion would be that the letter from the Ministry of Housing be received for information and that staff be directed to write a letter to the Ministry of Housing regarding Bill 16 and Bill 44 seeking clarification on how it directly applies to Anmore.
So you've packaged both of them together? Yeah, okay. Could I get someone to move that? Moved, second? Oh, yeah. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to fees and charges bylaw amendment, EV charging station. Report from Ms. Elric.
Thank you. As part of the construction of the new hub, we installed 2 EV charging stations, and they've been in operation for about 2 months plus now. So initially we, along with the install, the intention was to provide free of charge charging services to users of the hub and the park. What we have found through the first couple of months of charging is that the majority of the charging and the highest use charge periods are actually after hours and on weekends when there isn't anybody here at the hub. So we're bringing forward to council consideration on whether council would like to update the fees and charges bylaw in order to set fees for those after hour and weekend times. And additionally, other municipalities also charge for idling fees. So if your vehicle has been charged and is no longer drawing power, then you receive a notification from the app. If you don't remove your vehicle within 60 minutes from that, then you're charged an idling fee as well. So the fees, the $2 per hour fee for the after hours essentially is just recovering our electricity costs. The $4 an hour, of course, would be double those costs, but would potentially deter people from staying plugged in for a long time. We do have our after hour users are plugging in from anywhere from 6 to 17 hour period time. And as there's only two stalls, it's not really benefiting the whole community as it was intended. So if council has any further questions about that, I'm happy to provide any clarity, but the recommendation this evening would be that Anmore fees and charges bylaw amendment number 692/2024 be given first, second, and third reading.
Can I get someone to move that? Moved, seconded, any discussion? Councillor Webering.
So is it just going to have, are they going to have a credit card reader on them? Is that how it's going to work?
Yeah, so the EV chargers function with an app, and regardless of whether you're charging your vehicle or not, you have to have that app downloaded. So it would just be the providers programming that fee charge into it and users needing to provide their credit card information.
I understand.
Councillor Richardson.
I would actually like to see charge always. I don't think you get to show up at daytime and get free charging. Like, why free in the day? Like, I don't understand. They're charging their car. They're not buying gas. Ammore's paying for it. We don't buy gas for people. We shouldn't be buying electricity for people. So the fee for village-oriented, the first part says no charge between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. I would put the $2 per hour there as well.
That's certainly something that can be amended through the bylaw this evening, should council wish to move an amendment.
Yeah, I think the only challenge with that is that as we transition to some electric charging vehicles, i.e. in our building, we've talked about in our building inspector role as well down the road, I think that it makes sense that also with staff as well that are running out and running errands for us as well, that if they have an electric car, it may be served well. Most of that parking is actually occupied during the day by staff anyway, so I'm fine leaving it where it is. I can tell you that in the evenings, it is, there are certain cars that are staying here all night and taking up and occupying the charging station. So I'm actually, if this passes, I'm actually going to call a meeting on Thursday that we can get this passed sooner than later and get this implemented as soon as possible so that charging would then commence on right after the meeting on Thursday afternoon. So, Councillor Trowbridge. Okay, good. Ms. Elrick.
Thank you. Through the chair to address Councillor Trowbridge and Richardson's comments regarding setting the round-the-clock charging. I believe, and we are meeting with the provider tomorrow, but I believe that there is a mechanism that we can enter in certain users identified and have them not charged. So I think that there is a mechanism, should council choose to do the 24/7 charging, that we can accommodate those instances that Mayor McEwen was alluding to regarding
Perfect.
staff.
Perfect. Okay. So the amended motion would be?
That Anmore Fees and Charges Bylaw Amendment Bylaw Number 692/2024 be given first, second, and third reading as amended to include a $2 fee between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m.
Good. Someone to move that? Moved, seconded. Any further discussion? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. And Ms. Schell, if we could schedule a meeting for Thursday, just for this one item, just to, because we have to wait 24 hours. So are you have, it's right before you have an environment meeting on Thursday? Councilor Rich, are you available on Thursday for a brief meeting? Yeah. In person, yeah. We have to do it in person. Okay. Okay. You'll schedule. Okay. Perfect. Thanks. Okay. Councillor Trowbridge. No, we have to do it in person. Oh, he's waiting. Okay. We'll now move on to the 2024-2028 Anmore 5-year financial plan, report dated April 12, 24 for our Manager of Financial Services. Ms. Martin.
Thank you. Thank you to Mayor and Council. I'm here to introduce the draft 5-year financial plan. After meeting with the Finance Committee, it was moved and seconded that the Finance Committee recommended that this budget come to Council. There were a few items that were brought to our attention between the Finance Committee meeting and today's date. So a couple of those things was the asset recovery obligation was recently reviewed by our auditors, and we were found to have a legal obligation of $10,000. So that has been amended into this draft budget, which was an increase from our previous draft. And one of the recommendations from the Finance Committee was that staff come back with a percentage rate that included using our statutory reserve to cover some of the potential tax increases. And if we want to break out and talk about some of those, potentially, okay. I'm going to go switch papers to my biggest spreadsheet. So just as staff has brought back a recommended tax increase of 8.19%, and that is down from our Finance Committee recommendations. That's broken up into three pieces. That is the principal loan that came from our new long-term loan, our CPI increase of 3.6%, and then a small increase for staff and building costs. Sorry, I'm totally going rogue on you guys. A few other things that were highlighted from our Finance Committee meeting is just some highlights.
Just highlights, yeah.
Big highlights. So we have added in a new planner, and that planner is going to be fully recovered this year. So that is not part of our operating budget because we have a revenue that comes back for that. Obviously, the debt that we start this year for the Anmore hub, we have principal and interest payments that start in 2024. Originally, this principal and interest payments came in at 6.2% of our potential tax increase, and that was the recommendation from Council at Finance Committee that we look at covering the interest part of the loan with our statutory reserve fund, which is a stabilization reserve that helps with tax increases. So we have taken that value, the interest of the loan that is coming out this year, and covered it 100% with our statutory reserve. This statutory reserve that Council started funding a few years ago has about $400,000 in it. And this first year, the loan interest out of that reserve will be $124,250, which actually is reducing the tax increase by 4.6%. So it's great that we put that aside many years ago. We've also, in this 5-year plan, added that stabilization reserve over the next couple of years as a reducing value, so that there'll be a little bit of help in years 2 and years 3. A few other items that was part of getting the interest rates down is our new construction that we were able to add to our properties this year. So there was a total new construction value added to our tax base assessment value of just over $19 million. Now that addition of new construction has put an additional $28,193 into our tax base, which overall reduced taxes by 1% for the rest of Anmore residents. So that's just what we call non-market change, and non-market change would be change in use, additions, all the carriage homes, that kind of thing. So it's not through sales, it's through increases in value. Those were the main things that affected this year's budget, was the CPI, the new loan, and then we've added a small amount of operating for this building, but there's also additional costs for insurance, there's additional costs for maintenance, and we've actually kept that very small. We kept it the same as what we had in our very old trailer building. We had a small amount set aside. So So we're using that same value for our maintenance of the hub, and this will be our first year to consider our maintenance costs and see what this is really going to look like to maintain this building. It doesn't contain any additional items or additional staffing for events and planning, and I think that will be ongoing as it is discussed. Let's see if I missed anything. Does council have any questions?
Good. Any questions at all? Councillor Weber.
A few things. Under
I don't
assets,
think your mic is.
is it, check, check?
There you go.
Okay, I'm just not close enough. Okay. Under assets, why is the Public Works trailer shown as good for 40 years? Thought it was done.
So,
On page 26.
page 26. Public Works has 2 trailers down in the Public Works yard. So they have the old Public Works trailer, which will eventually be demolished. And we have the old Municipal Hall trailer, which the village owns, that Public Works has moved into.
So it's just, like, I know the one, it says Public Works trailer, useful life 40 years, and we've got 14 years left, but we know that they're done.
Yeah, once it's demolished, that will come off the books.
Okay.
So this space is from 2023,
Okay.
our year end, and now the Public Works has moved into our newer trailer.
Yeah.
And we will dispose of that asset accordingly.
Okay, so it's just sort of a numbers thing here. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to ask a dumb question probably. Why the 453,706 for the hub? Why that specific number?
So that is the CAC collected value in 2023 plus the earned interest on that reserve, which brought us up. Originally in the hub budgeting, we had set aside CACs for
Right.
the hub, but we never identified any new CACs.
Okay.
So we couldn't spend the money. So
Okay,
we
so-
actually received that money and it's sitting waiting for us to spend on the hub. We're just looking for a recommendation to allow us to do that.
Okay, so that's sort of what we have available, and you want us to approve the budget if needed, kind of thing.
Yes, so there are some requests for further improvements for the hub for this year.
Like
And,
sound?
the
Demising
sound
walls,
being one
sound.
of them. There's lots of little things that we're finding as we're in the building that require some improvement. And
Okay.
that money is already here, and it's not part of taxation. It's collected already. We're just looking for recommendation to use it.
Okay, fair enough. I understand. And just, you probably don't have an answer to this, but what do we think the comparison in operating costs of the new facility is going to be in comparison to, like, the lease cost and the operating cost of the old facility and the depreciation? Do you have any idea? I mean, the lease we leased the new trailers, the council trailers, correct? And then we own the other ones.
So the lease trailer, which was our old council building, is the same value that we're using for our maintenance value this year, which I believe was about $40,000, $36,000. It's very low. It's probably not sustainable for this year, but it was a starting point we could look at.
Right.
That was previously in our budget. We won't know what we're going to use for maintenance until we have a year in the building.
Right.
Boyd has a comment.
So to give some clarity on the maintenance, it's the first year will not be really representative of what the true cost will be, because we're actually under the 1-year warranty period as well. So if there's anything that goes wrong in particular, we send it back to the contractor to come and deal with in relatively, in most circumstances. So it's going to be hard for us to put our finger on even on year number 1. So year number 2 will be a real representation of our costs
Right, and I was thinking that. I mean, year 10 is going to be a lot different than year 2.
Yes.
And then I guess I was also thinking more energy costs, which would be a little bit more consistent. Do we have any idea roughly what we're going to be using for energy every year in dollars?
Not off the top of my head, but we could probably start doing that math now based upon hydro usage currently against it, because we have a good energy system here, and relatively efficient, so we should be able to find those.
Okay, and they never modeled the building, did they?
Yeah, we did. We
Oh, they
modeled the
did.
building,
Okay.
We modeled energy efficiency and whatnot.
Okay, I'd be curious to.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll spend some time with you looking at that
Yep.
after the first year. I'm just interested.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Richardson, do you have anything?
So when I go through this, I was trying to look at it from a taxpayer's point of view. So what are we actually spending our money on? So for example, the 481K that's the CACs into the hub, what do we buy for 481K and what have we bought so far? So from a taxpayer perspective, I think they would like to know, 9 million has gone into this all total and we're adding on top of it, or this much has gone in on top of it and that's not in here. And like you list sort of the capital projects. In the past, the capital projects have been listed with cost and that's not in here. We used to get last year's in the 5-year financial plan, last year's numbers with actuals, and that's not in here. So like I'm frustrated from a taxpayer point of view of what's changed. I know there's notes on certain things, what's gone up, what's got down. Like to me, last year we should have saved $1 million because we didn't buy the brine system, we didn't buy the brine truck, and we didn't buy the dump truck. They're all going into this year, right? So is there an excess and surplus that went into reserves? Like I have no feel, and I've been at the finance meeting and all the other meetings, and the numbers weren't there either. And it's mentioned from the financial sustainability policy, the end of the policy in new capital investment, the impact of each proposed capital project on the village's operating expenses will be fully accounted for. And I raised that last year. I have no idea. Like, what is the operating cost of a tandem axle dump truck? Like, all these things have gone into Anmore, and it's sort of on anecdotes, not on actual numbers. Is the equipment cost gone up? The gas cost? The maintenance cost? How does that all come in?
Let's get a couple questions that Ms. Martin can answer.
I'd like to make sure I capture some of those questions.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the cost. So we are still currently under audit, so we don't have our year-end actuals to present, but that will be coming forward at a future meeting with our auditors.
Yep.
And they will talk about our actuals at that point. When we're talking about our identifiable capital projects, like the money that was allocated for each capital item, we did itemize those values at our finance committee meeting, and that agenda is still available, I believe, online. And we had that broken out over a 5-year plan and also in comparison to last year's budget, so we could see what values went up and down. What I can tell you as well is when we prepare when we prepare the budget each year, we usually start with our CPI, which is set under policy as the Vancouver Index at December, and that was 3.6%. So we start there. We take either our actual values from last year or a budgeted value from last year, whichever is higher, and we add CPI. And that is just our start. That is our estimate of where we're going. And then we review with staff if there's anything outside of regular operating that we would need to allocate in the current year. And what we try to do is to exchange one for the other. So where we might see savings from not doing a maintenance, something that doesn't happen every year, we might be able to work on a different operating project. So that's why I try to keep it a high level. And what I mentioned before, within this tax value, there's actually only, other than the principal of the loan, which is taking up 2.31% of the tax increase, the interest is cleared by the reserve, but the principal still has to be paid. And then the CPI, the 3.6% of our regular operating, where we've not done one and we've taken on a different project, but overall we have 3.6%. And then we have $46,700 left of an increase in operating. So really, that's not much when you talk about moving into this building and the maintenance that we're adding. That's how we're trying to break it out.
So I have no problem with the tax increase, and I understand those numbers. But from a resident taxpayer point of view, I don't think there's enough clarity on what the benefits are on some of the capital expenditures and things that have been done and how they actually see that coming back. So that's my concern. And it used to be far more detailed, like a couple years ago, and I've noticed there's this trend to get less and less detailed, and I think the information gets lost for their benefit.
Okay. Well, I think that I just wanted to highlight a couple things. Number one is the Finance Committee, where we do get into some of the weeds of this, is a public meeting, and we usually very much encourage people to come out to it. When we're approving the budget at this point, it's gone through different variations already. I think there's some things that really need to stand out and really demonstrate the job that staff is doing, and that is the fact, as you said, 3.6% is just consumer price index. So you add on to that what the residents of this community ask for, and that is that future residents pay for their portion of the hub. And that works out to 2.31%. So literally 6% of our 8.2% increase is sort of spoken for. I would compare that to any other of the municipalities in the Tri-Cities. I'll just stay with the Tri-Cities, and that's the lowest of them all. Plus the matter of fact is that we have a $3.7 million operating. That has not increased substantially over my years on council. Certainly as we've gotten bigger, but not relatively. It's very conservative. We don't tax for solid waste and water because they're user pay. But $3.7 million to run this village to me is incredibly good value. I would also say that in our total reserves, we have over $10 million. Now in our capital reserves, that's a little bit different, down a bit, but we're at $7 million, over $7 million. So, the fact that we listen to residents, we put $2.5 million of debt on this, the interest that we are paying on that loan is being offset by the interest that we are getting from that loan in our reserves, is making that, in essence, a wash. But the principle is being built on as people asked us to. If we didn't do that, we could pay this off, then our tax rate would be down even significantly. I think the other thing that Lena stressed quite well is with new development. What's that adding? You said about $42,000?
It was about $28,000 added to our tax.
So that,
yeah.
for every 1%, it's about $29,000. So that's 1% right there that we did. So anyway, like I said, I think the numbers are great. I think that if people want a much more detail, well, they can certainly reach out to me, but I would really strongly encourage to come to the finance meetings where we go through these in depth. We have all the public works. They can talk about the cost of implement, why we're going with certain capital assets as we're moving forward. So, like I said, I'm quite pleased with it. Councillor Trowbridge, do you have any comments before I call a vote? Good. Okay, well, Michelle.
There isn't a motion on the floor yet, but also, would you like to invite public input?
Oh, sorry. So would the public like to have any comments on the budget? We do this as an exception on a yearly basis because the budget is one of the big things. So, anything? Yeah. Can you push the microphone? Sorry. Peter? Yeah.
Testing, testing. To a certain extent, listening to Councillor Richardson, it'd be kind of nice. I don't know. I see we have the increase in that, but specifically, not all of us are aware to go to the finance committees to find that information. We used to have, how much we paid in 1 year, and then the next year, and where's that going up, and what our new purchases are. So in a way, I think that would be could be potentially a nice service for the community. Just a Cole's note of we bought a truck this year, Hub's getting this much money, even simple it down. So I tend to agree that rather than POW, this is what it is, and then maybe we have to go and search that out if we really care. So I recognize that. I think that's important.
Good, thank you. Anything else? Okay, well, okay, so
To the chair, we will have to approve this budget and then do a recommendation to amend the budget after this is passed.
oh, can you hear me? Could you, I attended the Hal Weinberg Celebration of Life this past Saturday. Amazing turnout, an amazing event. It really sort of culminated in a great celebration for an amazing life for an amazing amazing man, and it was really great. This Friday, the fire trustees will be going again over to Bowen Island to check out their completed fire hall to get some more ideas and just see how it all came in because of what's going to be coming ahead for both the fire halls here in Anmore and Belcarra. And then Ms. Elrick, I just wanted to ask you, has the rep from Fraser Health been booked to come to one of our public meetings to discuss regulations and enforcement regarding our septic systems?
Through the chair, I have contacted Fraser Health. It is the same person, Blair Choquette, who came last time, who still has that under his responsibility. We have not set a date yet, though, so
Okay.
I'm still waiting to secure the date.
Okay. And then finally, a reminder with Coffee with the Mayor. Today I had a great meeting with two Anmore residents just interested in the commercial space downstairs. But please, it was great to meet a lot of new people in the community and hear some other ideas that they have for the community. So please don't be shy about getting something booked in and taking me up on it. So thank you. I'll move on to Councillors' reports. Councillor Weber.
Just briefly, I also attended the Hal Weinberg Memorial. It was a great event. A lot of people there. A lot of good speeches and great memories of Hal. And as Mayor McEwen said, I'm also going to be going to the Bowen Island Fire Hall tour as one of the fire trustees. And that's it.
Councillor Cryer.
Thank you. Busy couple of weeks with meetings. I had Food Council meeting, Healthier Community Partnership meetings, also behind the scene, like pre-meetings for both of those, talking about goals for this year, and then also the Seroptimus Give Her Wings event, which is always heartwarming. They give bursaries, scholarships to women and teens who do not have a strong female Seroptimist is a group of women that take them under their wings, give her wings, and they do yearly things like prom dresses and makeovers and dinners, just giving them a sense of community with other people that are struggling with some of the same things. And then each year they do this award ceremony, which is one of my favorite events because it's very heartfelt and the stories are unbelievable what some of these women have gone through to get degrees and such. So that was my 2 weeks.
Good. Anything else? Councillor Richardson.
Like Mayor McEwen and Councillor Weverink, I also attended the Hal Weinberg Celebration of Life, and I have to admit, I was rather shocked and stunned of how much that man contributed and did in many different aspects during his life, from his crazy young days to environmentalist, to professor of university, to brain kind of advancement in science and technology, to the creation of Anmore. And one of the speakers spoke about being envious that he didn't know the Weinbergs better for certain parts of their life. And I have to echo that. I heard stories, and I wish I've known Hal for 23 years. And I'm envious that I didn't know him like 20 years before that. And especially that I didn't ever get to attend any of the Weinbergs' famous parties, which were brought up over and over again. It was a great life, and I can only think it would be great to get somewhere close to that, and I don't think I will ever accomplish that. So it was amazing. And then the last comment would be, I looked into people dumping their septic fields over neighbors' property, and I don't think it's a Fraser Health issue. It's actually an environmental breaking of the law. So I think we can just call the cops. You are not allowed to dump sewage. You're not allowed to dump it on other people's properties. Fraser Health takes care of the septic field and the positioning and everything to do with it. But if some guy takes a pipe and starts pumping it over somewhere else, we should call the cops because it's actually illegal.
Thanks. Okay. Chief Administrator's Officer's report.
Thank you. So just a reminder to the community that we're still continuing on with water main flushing. Should be complete this week or heading into next week. There is an Environment Committee meeting Thursday, 6 p.m. Here at the Hub in the boardroom. So that is an open to the public meeting should anybody wish to attend. And the agenda should be posted on the website now. Additionally, just a reminder that watering restrictions are starting May 1st, so please visit our website or Metro Vancouver to familiarize yourself again with those restrictions. It is very important in terms of water conservation, you know, check to make sure irrigation systems aren't leaking, all of that kind of thing. The Scouts are having their bottle drive on April 20th. For those community members that wish to support, they will be accepting donations down in the parking lot here at the Hub. As well, they have information out, and we've communicated on our website and through our email notification on ways that you can help support the Scouts. And lastly, we have been also related to committees working on recruitment of a committee clerk and or some consulting services to better support the committees, and thus far has been unsuccessful in filling that position. So we are keeping at it, but staff capacity is tight in terms of supporting the committees. So Ms. Shell is towing the rope there, and hopefully we have that position or contractor filled in soon. That's it for me. Thank you.
Good. We've got some information items. Draft minutes of the finance meeting, general correspondence. I'll open up to public question period. I do have a question that was submitted, but does anybody else want to get up and?
Okay, Nancy Knauer, 1120 Thompson Road. I would like to address the council with two requests. The first is there's a historical photo taken in the village in the 90s, 1990s sometime, I can't remember when, of the final day of the building of the pathways or the walkways within the village of Anmore. This photo, it was a photo of different places on the pathways, and the councillors and all the people that were involved in the building of the pathways that were responsible for the many years and hard work by volunteers in the community to complete this massive project. It is a composite of about 20 by 24, so it used to be prominently displayed in the old village hall, and then it was put into storage. Our local community needs to see this photograph that so many spent so many hours and weekends to create a way for everyone in the village to safely walk on the roadways. The next generation makes me, oh, sorry. Got my wrong pages here. This photograph was also a representative of 9 years of work that truly represents the involvement and the true community spirit of Anmore and should be displayed prominently. And I know I handed it over to Julie Halliwell at some point, so it would be nice if it found a home within the hall. So, since we now have a place for it to go to.
Yeah, certainly I'm not aware of the photo, but I know that several years ago we sort of undertook a cataloging of those types of items, so certainly something we can look for. And we do have display areas in the lobby for things just like that, so most certainly we can take a look for it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hard to find because I had it 4 years ago, so before Julie left. So. Okay, and the next question I have, a request I have actually, makes me very excited. I've been searching for this particular item for over 10 years, and nobody seems to know anything about it, except the older people within Anmore. Our community spirit pole. It was displayed prominently in Spirit Park over our many events that we've had. So it was brought out on Maury, it was brought out on... it's at the pole. Yeah. That's it. It's about 5 feet tall, 2 feet wide. And actually, the wood was donated by a local resident, and it was carved by the Quaquitlam local peoples. I understand that it is in a storage box within the village. I would love to see this displayed safely in the new hub, looking out on Spirit Park, or in the lobby prominently, because Mayor McEwen, you said that at the beginning about this is the Aboriginal people's land, so there's something that was actually donated to our village. So I'm hoping that you do find this in your heart to find a good place for this pole. And as I said, I'm so excited that I was able to find it. It's in a storage bin. And if you know anything about the native peoples, they treasure they have spirits within their artifacts, and it's not good for this pole to be locked up in a box. It should be on display.
We'll start looking for them all.
Please do. Yeah. I found out when we were working on Spirit Park last week with the committee.
Thanks, Nancy. We'll look into both of those.
Please do, because it's important. It needs to be displayed.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions before I finish up? Okay, I got an email. I understand understand that the Metro Vancouver Regional Planning Committee will be discussing the definition of rural at the May 10th meeting. Mayor McEwen, how do you plan to represent the residents of Anmore in these discussions? Well, great question. Previously to Metro 2040, Anmore was classified as part of a livable region classification. And I can tell you when Metro 2040 first came about in its inception, Anmore was the last holdout because nobody on our council at the time agreed that Anmore was rural. But nobody could define what semi-rural was. So anyway, Metro Vancouver, we were the last holdout to sign on to it. So they basically wore us down and we had to take one of the 4 or 5 classifications that they have, which was rural. The problem with that is that in Metro Vancouver, the majority of Metro Vancouver's rural lands are either adjacent to floodplains, on steep slopes, support agricultural production, contain sensitive ecosystems, and have areas with high water tables and sensitive aquifers. So we don't really apply to what is naturally what they're referring to as rural right now. So I look forward to supporting a better definition, and I think the focus is going to be to talk to all the municipalities that have this rural designation as to what their beliefs are as well. So I think it's a long thing. I think it's a tough question to come to, as we found really challenging. You know, because again, we held off because we did not feel we fit into any one of these things, and we wanted to do semi-rural. But as we also found out, you could ask 10 people what semi-rural is defined for them, and everybody has a different adage. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Thanks for the question. I think it's great. I think Metro Vancouver, with their with their staff, they're going to look into it, and then they'll get back and get some input from the individual municipalities that have this rural land. So that's it. So motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.